Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I welcome you to Ricochet Community Call number 3. Let's get started. So on the agenda, we're going to start off by talking about Ricochet version 2 updates. We're going to run through DAO Governance, a couple of proposals that have transpired and are now up for voting. We're going to run through media progress, then finally walk through a small quantitative review, and then just talk a little about ETHDenver. I'm going to turn over to Mike to talk about Ricochet V2.
Yeah, thanks. So last, I guess the first week of February, we launched contracts to staging, and the team and me, we've all been, kind of experimenting with streaming to these contracts. And we've been working out a few more bugs. So right now the markets are available in staging, the ETH and the wrapped Bitcoin markets, but we're finding that during stream liquidation events, the contracts can be jailed. So the wrapped Bitcoin market is jailed, and I don't think you can stream to that one. We have a bunch of keys from Superfluid. I think we still have like 6 keys. So I'm working on troubleshooting it with Axe from Superfluid and our community member JT Riley in our Discord. And I mean, I don't know if we know where the bug is yet, but we're definitely looking at it. And we've definitely found, if not the bug, we definitely found another bug or a potential bug that is a quick and easy thing to fix. So yeah, I mean, this is why we don't just like roll out contracts and then throw subsidies. I mean, we used to do that, right? I used to like throw out a contract at like 5 p.m. and then subsidize it at like 10 p.m. and then go to bed and wake up and find money's like locked in it forever. But yeah, I mean, now we're kind of being a little bit more responsible. It only occurs during the liquidation. So I'm glad that I set up a bot, or I'm glad that I set up a wallet to be liquidated. I set up a wallet that only had like $5 in it and opened up a pretty large stream. So it got liquidated yesterday at the end of the day. But anyway, go to the next slide, because the next slide has, I know a lot of people in our community are interested in this. So I'm not sure if people understand what it looks like when we look into one of these bugs, but this is basically like, version 2 debugging once it's out on chain. Like there are a lot of things that we don't really account for when we're sort of doing the testing. And so, they get brought up in production, but that's just the way that it works. So what happens here on liquidation, we have a method in our contracts called get share allocations. And what you see here is basically most of the expanded stack trace, which you can get from tenderly.co. So what we do is we basically plug in the suspect transaction or the transactions that are relevant. And really all you do is go through this line by line. And I mean, they can be pretty large, but here's just like a screenshot of one where, you basically see that it's progressing its way through this get share allocations function. It's interacting with the two-way market contract, and then it's interacting with the instant distribution contracts that Superfluid make and the super token contracts. And then somewhere along the lines, it just reverts. And this is where we are sort of at. We're trying to figure out like, well, why was it reverted here? And how can we fix it? So we do have JT Riley put together a test to replicate it, which replicates the issue that happened right here using like a simulation and a specific block number. And so we have a way to kind of confirm that it does cause a problem. And we're still working on what exactly fixes it. So, but we should know shortly. So that's that. That's a version 2 update. So Sonny, I don't know if you have something after this you could take back.
Cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So let's walk through DAO governance. So a couple things transpired. First off, that Treasury proposal to purchase 25,000 USDC worth of RIC off SushiSwap over 3 weeks has completed. I'm just going to pull up the, well, first off, it was purchased at an average price of $1.16. The reason I was able to calculate this instead of like having like pull up all the data and like do all the trades, like do the averaging, is because we dollar cost average into it with Rex market. It's basically buying at every single price. And so all I had to do was take the first price we bought at and the last price we bought at and divide by 2. So
wait, that's not right. It should be, the average should be a lot lower. What you have to do is you have to look at the total streamed in divided by the total received back. Did you do
Oh.
that?
No, I just took the first and then plus the last.
I actually think I did this before. I don't think I shared my results because I was busy with something else, but I think it's a little lower. It's still above $1, but it's a lot closer to $1. I want to say it's like $1.06 or $1.
That's better news.
When you were explaining that method, I was like, wait,
I thought I was so clever.
No, I definitely did. We can do that later if you want to do it in the Superfluid console. Right? Yeah. Why don't you continue? I'll do it in the Superfluid console.
Yeah.
I did it a couple times.
Just to show like okay, sounds good. And then just to show like the results of the kind of buyback, we can see here that it was a little over. We kind of started like preliminary, I guess, like test stream, Mike. And then
well, what it is like to actually like I kept the day that I thought it would run out, which was Monday, it was still at like 23,000. So that was me just like keep going to bed and like checking it the next day. So like I go to bed one day and it was like 23 or 24, and then I wake up the next day and it's like 25, and then by the time I get to my multi-sig and close it, it's like 25,228 or whatever it is. So that's just like the human involvement in the process. We need a way to like automatically shut streams after certain amounts. But for now, yeah, that's just me being human.
Yeah, so that went from the 19th to February 9th, and yep, worked out just fine.
You should be able to see. I think you should be able to see the amount distributed if you put in the if you look in the IDA subscriptions there, a little bit higher.
Oh yeah, so I could have done that calculation.
Yeah, wait, scroll back up because you have to expand the subscription section. See where you're not too high enough. The
IDA.
Yeah, and then approved subscriptions, and then one of these is Ricochet. The 23,000 on there.
Okay, so it's still under $1.
So it's like I don't know. It's hard to do the math. It's 25,225 divided by 23. It's $1.09, 23,875. No, it's actually $1.05.
Oh, right.
I lied.
Right. So
$1.05. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Or 1.
This is a Superfluid
1.05 USDC.
Yeah. Okay.
1.05 USDC.
So for those of you who are seeing this for the first time, this is the Superfluid console. Basically, it's at console.superfluid.finance. You just put in your address, whatever address you're interested in inspecting from like a Superfluid agreement perspective, and you can see all the activity from the past and ongoing into that address. And it's really neat, really clutch tool. Kudos to the Superfluid team for making it. So back to the presentation. Yeah, so Mike recently put out a Ricochet V2 liquidity mine proposal. The gist of this, I'll pull it up right here. Oh, great, what happened?
It happens to me sometimes too.
All right, so yeah, this is basically a proposal to incentivize the version 2 markets, the ETH and the Bitcoin USDC markets with RIC incentives. That those RIC incentives being streamed into the market at a rate of 10,000 per month. The advantage of so the proposal is to have it start on February the 17th, and then do for the. Am I reading that right?
I don't know. Did I write it right?
We'll stream 10,000 per month starting on February 17th.
To both of the markets.
Oh, right. So they'll actually start distributing on
because there's going to be a buffer.
Because it needs a little buffer.
The paragraph below explains it. It says that basically the 1-day streaming in the contracts creates a buffer. That way we'll avoid creating something worth attacking.
Right. And also, like, if there is a problem with the markets, having them streamed in at a gradual rate will avoid RIC.
Yeah, that's the real reason too, is because we locked up. I mean, not lost RIC, but
I think 500,000, right?
No, it's not that much.
250,000.
No, it's about 100. I think it's 170,000 because we locked up. I think we locked up 40,000 or 50,000, and then another 50,000 in a contract we thought was good, and then that got like locked. It wasn't a jailed app; it just got like deadlocked, and so we can't get those out. And then there's I think another about 30,000 in the contract that was subsidized too long. The ETHDenver contract. So it is available in the endpoint that Dov created, the data.ricochet endpoint that has like how much is still locked. And And I think it's like 170,000.
Cool. Shout out Dom for all the cool analytics work he's been doing.
Yeah, we got to get that endpoint on CoinGecko though. So
Yeah.
if anyone here knows CoinGecko.
And yeah, obviously this may be postponed a little bit if that bug in the Rex smart contracts takes a little longer to resolve.
Yeah.
And yeah, this incentivization will ongo until v 2.1 Rex market contracts are made available. And from what I've learned, the main kind of concept between 2.1 is making the fees get taken on the inbound stream, the payment stream that people are using to DCA, instead of plucking it out of every like 20-minute distribution. So that's the essence there. And
the math on the distribution is a lot easier. That's why we did it that way. The CFAs are a little bit more complicated to understand, but could still do the same math there. It's probably the same amount of difficulty now that we have like the referral system in the mix. The other thing is, the other thing that has to go into a 2.1 is the keepers need to get a fraction of the fees. Streaming to keepers isn't sustainable. I mean, it's nice in the beginning because it makes it easy, but the keepers have to take a fee for sure. Because like the way that we're paying the keepers or financing the keepers now, it's good, it works, but it should be the case that you get incentives as a keeper for every time you keep. That's just how keepers generally work. So we should do that. So those are the only two things in a 2.1. Fees taken, well, maybe there's something else we haven't thought of, but the fees taken with CFAs, the continuous flow agreements rather than the instant distribution agreements, and a built-in keeper incentive.
That's good. All right, so let's give some business development and media updates. First off, we've got a new landing page and it looks totally awesome. Shout out to Feldy and Philip from rexForce for putting this together with me. I'm just gonna pull it up because it's beautiful.
Yeah, and shout out to Sonny for getting this together.
Yeah, this has been great.
Along with all the other new media that has come out.
Yeah, there have been a lot of hands on deck in bringing this to life, so really cool. But yeah, basically we've got these awesome animations that just show you streaming and you get periodic distributions back when you're using Ricochet. Some kind of messaging so that it's easier to pull up and see what Ricochet is. Just explanations as to the advantages here and the kind of value prop, and then just a little walkthrough through each product, and then animations explaining each one. And yeah, so it came along great, and it looks nice. I think it's a good centerpiece to our kind of like visual aspect to the Ricochet brand.
And it makes version 2 feel like it's an actual version 2.
Right, people will pull this up and they'll be like, wow.
Brand new staging or brand new app, brand new website. Yeah, it's gonna be good. And we're all gonna shill it at ETHDenver.
Yeah, okay. And yeah, next thing, we talked with the Polygon guys. We're gonna have one of those AMAs on March 4th at 11:30 a.m. So 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. So updates will come on that. Also, 4 things are in progress. First off, the Polygon ecosystem grant proposal. Community member Daniel has been working with me on that, and it's pretty much in the final stages. We're about to submit it, I think, today. I think Mike is reviewing it, and then we'll get it out there. Next up, we have the animated. All right, well, a little more information on that. I'm not going to breeze through that. Basically, it's a proposal that you can put up to the Polygon ecosystem DAO, and they will issue X amount of funds to you. It's basically kind of like an accelerator, kind of one-time funding sort of a application. And so the precedence for this for Superfluid projects is already there. There has been Diagonal Finance. They're basically a tool that uses Superfluid strings to create like a streamlined subscription process. And these guys were able to secure 125,000 USDC despite not having a product already out there functioning and everything. So we're in a much better state. We're basically going to be asking for this money for bootstrapping liquidity in our markets that things can run more smoothly, and a variety of other kind of and a couple other kind of different reasons here and there. So looking forward to getting that out there, and
Sonny, I
hopefully,
looked at the proposal. It looks great. You guys should
yeah,
just go ahead and submit it. My only
Daniel,
my only idea was like when you talk about specific token projects, because you mentioned Wi-Fi and UMA, I would just say like just stress the listing process and then just put examples of projects like the community has signaled,
oh
they're
right,
interested in.
like
Just
Maker
so
and
we're
Idle,
not
that's a
like,
good
just so
idea.
we're not requesting funding for any like specific project that's not Ricochet.
Right.
So that was the only thing that I think I read in there that I noted. So
Okay, awesome,
yeah.
great feedback. Um, yeah, next up we have also Daniel working on an animated Rex market explainer video that basically is just a nice kind of graphical explainer as to what's going on behind the scenes with the Rex market. Teller had one, and I was kind of inspired by that to make it happen here at Ricochet. So we'll see that hopefully this month, maybe next month. The next thing is working on a little article that just explains Ricochet's role in the Superfluid ecosystem. It'll be pretty digestible and just kind of walk through the value we add to Superfluid and how we kind of fit into this overall kind of real-time finance DeFi paradigm. The last part here is the Ricochet V2 blog post, which will basically be a nice medium article walking through what Ricochet V2 is, the advantages, and the new stuff. So that's pretty much like I think 50% complete. I've been writing it, and it'll be good. It'll be good. Let's move on to quantitative review. We were unable to get the numbers in, but I will pull up this little bounty chart that just shows weekly RIC payouts. We're at a very, very good kind of a rate here. I think over the last week we paid out I think $18,000 worth of RIC contributors.
Closer to 19 though.
19,000.
Close to 19.
Awesome.
It's like 8.9, 18.9.
All right. Anything you'd add here, Mike?
It should be growing.
It should be growing. All right.
Why is it slowing down? That's the only question I have. And that's not a question for you, Sonny. That's a question for everybody. Oh yeah. One thing I'll say here, I mean, this is a good time to talk about this, is I think the reason, I'll tell you why it's slowing down. It's all my fault. That's the real reason. It's because people are sort of just waiting on me to like label things. Like, so it's my fault in the sense that like I'm just like letting myself be the bottleneck. But I've been stressing this week that like, there are other people who can add labels. Anyone who's a maintainer, which is like a handful of people, I'm not going to rattle off the list, but you can feel free to add, labels to issues that are, sort of based on your assessment of how they should be sized. The labels for bounties are all sort of incremental. So it's kind of like a bucketing system. And you should generally just like think about the value that it provides and the amount of effort that goes into it. Because some issues are like really valuable and they might take a certain person a long time, but someone else might come along and be able to do it in like an hour. So I don't think things should be based on price. On like, it's not possible for us to sort of assess how long or how much effort. So just use both, right? So it's a critical bug, you can make it a bigger issue. So but yeah, people should feel empowered to sort of do that, because that's how we're going to work in the future. It's not like it's going to just be like one person assigning bounties all the time. It'll be basically up to a group of people, a group of us. So the more comfortable you all get with doing that now rather than later, the better off we'll be. Plus, that's how we get to, releasing more bounty payouts, is we just have more people creating more bounties and attaching labels to those bounties. So yeah, I mean, it's not my fault, but I am the bottleneck. So like people listening to the call should feel comfortable allocating RIC funds. Like obviously if there's like an egregiously large thing for something really small, I think other people will see it. And the people who complete the issues are actually really responsible too. Like I know several people who have earned a large bounty for something that didn't take them a lot of time. And they're like, well, I don't know if it should be that large. But I think in a lot of those cases, people sort of underestimate how important and how much urgency there was around that. And that's kind of why you got paid a lot, is because it was something that was important and it was something that was needed right away. So even though it only may take you like 10 minutes or be a 3 or 4 line code fix, it's still definitely worth it. So That's all I
Yeah,
have to say on that.
I concur. Definitely step up, take leadership with things you want to see fixed. I think I saw someone like
Yeah.
yesterday just post like, "Hey, I put up this issue. I saw there was something a little up with the landing page. I'd love to fix it." I think that kind of mindset is needed across the board. So,
Yeah.
so
And it's amazing too with the bounty. Like we had a bug yesterday that we found at like, well, I don't know what time it was, 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. or something. And I put out a bounty for, kind of recreating it and finding a solution. And, by like 9 p.m., someone had found what could be the issue and had written a test to reproduce it. And then, this morning we all got together and reviewed it. So it's kind of amazing that we can just like, we have this workforce, but we definitely need more like leaders and stuff to start, moving along areas that I can't attend to because there are so many areas. And I didn't build the front end, guys. I didn't build the front end. A lot of people think that I know what I'm doing on the front end, but I didn't really have much hands on the front end at all. So I definitely am like the last person that should probably be reviewing the front end pull request at this point anyway. I mean, I used to have a pretty good idea of what everything was, but now I'm pretty far removed. So anyway,
cool.
That's it.
All right. Last but not least, ETHDenver. So if to pull out your phone, scan this little QR code, it'll take you to a Google form that basically asks you what your Discord name is, what days you're going to be at ETHDenver, and then what days are best for you to maybe meet up. Mike and I were talking before the call, however, we were thinking about just getting together during the ETHDenver opening ceremony, which is on the 17th. I'm going to be at ETHDenver from the 16th to the 21st. Well, actually like flying in on the 16th over the night. So probably like more like 17th through 20th. But if you want to meet up with me, hit me up in the server or my DMs, and I'd love to meet some of you guys in person. And yeah, Mike's gonna be there too. So
I will be there. Yeah, I mean, I think a good place for us to all rally is the opening ceremony, which is on Thursday. So if you're there, plan to go to the opening ceremony, and we'll coordinate on Discord to meet up.
Cool.
And we're looking to meet, I see the question, who are you looking to meet at ETHDenver? Any specific project or protocol? No, I mean, I'm just going to try to sell more people on Ricochet.
Same.
Yeah, free stay for rexForce. Do you have a free stay for rexForce? I mean, if someone needs hotel or whatever, I will put you up. If that's the issue that's preventing you from going to ETHDenver, just let me know, because we could get you. I mean, we could get you a free stay, no problem.
And yeah, I'd probably be like hanging around with like the Superfluid guys a little bit around like their tables. Yeah, definitely
that's
catch
another place we can rally.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well,
wait, did we open up the quantitative review? Do we want to do Dune? Do you want to open up Dune and look at Dune?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because I think we should all talk about how little volume we have.
All right.
Compared to how much we had. Hey, but the good news is, here's some good news though, is these people are going to stick around, right? So
yeah, this is like base volume.
This is base volume. This is unsubsidized. This is your favorite DeFi project after subsidies run out.
199
collapse. Yeah, and it was 200 last time I checked. It was like 200, which means that we're not really losing a bunch of people. Maybe that one stream, maybe it was 202. Couple of those streams were mine. I shut them down.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else looks good. Another notable thing is the Launchpad price. I actually opened up an analytics bounty for this, because what I'm noticing is that with our Launchpad, so first of all, the Launchpad is the product that makes the most US dollar coins for the DAO. Behind that, the bank is the next largest portion of the USDC income or revenue. And then the markets are actually our least profitable project, or least. How's that, right? How does that seem like, right? Like,
yeah. So
right.
Right. So
but now we have the other, what I was pointing out was the 0.99 price is actually a lot higher than what Rick is selling for on Sushi Swap. which is interesting because it used to be the other way around, which it used to be the case that the sushi swap price was a lot higher than the launchpad price. But what this tells us, I'm asking someone in analytics to make a chart of this, but what it tells us is essentially if you were selling, your tokens on the market to people to raise money or whatever, or get income or, whatever you're going to do with your tokens, right? Or whatever you're allowed to do with your tokens, you'd be much better off selling them over the launchpad market to people, because those are the people that we're selling the tokens to here. These are people that just understand dollar cost averaging. They understand what we're doing, and they're willing to basically commit to the community a stream of USDC. And then we all know what happens to that stream of USDC, which is we need to talk about what happens to it, but it goes into the bank and then people borrow it. So we need to resume that, right? But you see the 100,000, if you wonder where that 100,004 dollars came from in the bank, look no further than the place right above the bank, right? It came from that stream of the 38,000 a month, right? Look, we've been running this since October. It really picked up in December, and then here we are in February. So if you're wondering where that 100,000, and there's another like 25,000 that has come in through the launch pad that we could move to the bank. We have to make a proposal to do it, but
yeah.
So yeah, these products work for us pretty well. So well that the annual income of the business is still like above $50,000 a year, despite the markets only making $3,000 a year, and being our lowest grossing product. I think that's the way to say it.
Right.
The markets are our lowest grossing product.
They are. Yeah. So a couple of things there. First off, I think it's kind of funny how there's a K out here, so it makes it look like the total value stream is like 38 million.
Oh yeah, we should fix that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I kind of learned this while working in TradFi. It's the idea that even though like the Rex markets are unprofitable products, they're a flagship product. They're what brings a lot of traffic to the other products. So, for instance, you think about equity, you think about trading companies. They offer, equity products for free, zero commissions. Why would they do that? Well, when you use that, you're more likely to use their other products, which drive profitability for them. So,
right, it's like a drug
that's
dealer.
kind of the deal with Rex markets.
We'll give you this for free, and you'll get hooked on the other products we have.
Right. When people discover like Rex markets, they discover that they can invest in Rick, and then this number goes up, and then this number goes up. It's kind of like the network effect. So,
yeah, we do need to turn that back on. Maybe Sonny, you can remember, but I'll maybe pass another proposal. We should resume the streaming the Launchpad funds into the bank, so that even though we don't have the streaming yet, at least we'll create some more liquidity for rexForce team members. Because rexForce team members, that's why the funds are there, really, to go back to the team.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Very cool. Anything else? No, this looks great. Oh yeah, the other thing I'll add is like I'm personally working on making real-time interest payments for the Rex Bank. So like instead of like having like that implied annual interest revenue, it's like actually coming in real time to us, which actually kind of reduces credit risk in a sense a little bit for the Rex Bank as well. So coming soon, hopefully like in a month and a half, that'll be ready.
I also think that'll stabilize the market, because that'll prevent people from like borrowing all the money out of the contract, because you'll have to keep some money in your wallet to pay your interest, and that can become messy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So everyone, thank you for coming to Ricochet Community Call number 3. That's a wrap. Thank you all for coming. We had a great turnout today, and hope to see you at another one. We're going to open up the floor to questions right now. So if there's anyone on the call right now, if you have a question, feel free to unmute and let us hear it.
Hello, I am Sam from.
Hi.
Hey.
We have a DEX in North Chain, and I have been interested in. I have been checking out Ricochet for some days now. The question is, when on next day? Which will be the costs, and which are the current plans? is there something that we can do in order to help doing that possible?
Yes, we have you seen our GitHub? We have a lot of open issues in GitHub, and all of the open issues, or most of the open issues, have bounties tied to them. So the best way you can help is to do jump into the Discord and then jump into GitHub, take a look at what issues are open.
Like, I
and
think
then
what
see-
he was asking was regarding Ricochet deployment on XDAI chain.
Oh, on XDAI chain? Yeah, I mean, we could deploy it. The main hang up there is not deploying the contracts. It's just like getting the keepers to start keeping on that network. But yeah, I mean, it's just some development work to do. Maybe there's a Gnosis grant. But yeah, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't deploy on XDAI. So
yeah, you know, we could just like deploy like a ETH and a Bitcoin market.
Yeah. No, we should do that. I mean, the keepers we need to figure out with the keeper code how to set it up so that they can keep two markets or two networks, but it's not that bad. It's not something that's terrible. The problem is if we go over there with all this work and we only get another $11,000 in volume, it's like, well, was that even really worth it? Like, to be over there? And like, I don't know how bridging the RIC token works so that we can get RIC incentives over there. Yeah, I mean, going to other chains is kind of one of the lower things on my, priority list. I see why it would be great to do it, but I think in its current state, the product needs to be like refined more before we start cloning it and creating this extra work around having multiple networks to maintain. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any plans to do the XDAI deploy, but it can be done.
I will check the GitHub issues, and when I am more familiar with the code, we can talk again.
Yeah. The protocol, there's the protocol repo, the keeper repo, and the front end repo. Those are the three repositories that primarily make up the system.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we'd also have to support multiple networks on the front end too. So, I mean, we're going to do it sooner or later. I just think it'll be later rather than sooner.
Okay. It's interesting. We have many DAOs that could benefit from that. So maybe it's not yet the moment,
yeah,
but it's I will keep that conversation going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we definitely need some help doing that too. So if you want to help, if you're available, if you get your head wrapped around the system, and then you can lend a hand, find a place you can lend a hand with this. We definitely need more people to do that. And I'm sure some people on the keepers team would be interested in helping. So,
Sam, by the way, you're from One Hive, right?
Yes, I am one of the seeds.
Cool.
Our main product right now, it's not HoneySwap, it's Gardens. It's a framework for creating DAOs. There are many people spawning their DAOs there with their tokens. And one cool thing that we could have is a system to buy those DAO tokens periodically. This is what I am currently thinking on using Ricochet there.
Yeah, that sounds like a Ricochet launchpad application for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right. 1, 2.
Did anyone fill out the form?
Yep. So those are our 7-second, and let's move on to the form. So yeah, we've actually got quite a few questions here. First off, sorry for that I cannot attend the meeting, but one question: how do we make people know the RIC token in the world, even if they do not trade on it? I think recognition of the RIC token will just come with recognition of the overall product. I don't think we're going to go out and explicitly market the token itself. We're going to market our own product, make sure people know about it.
Well, I'm going to market the token to the potential team members because that's what the token's for. It's for like governance with the team.
Contributors.
Yeah, so contributors, we're working on staking contributors, give them like formal roles. So we'll definitely let developers know about that. it seems like it's pretty popular. Like a lot of people I talk to on the team are like, yeah, I'm keeping like 10,000 Rick aside, or I'm keeping, however many Rick I need aside to do that when it's ready. So, but yeah, I agree with Sunny. Our product is so good that the token should just people should just learn about it because our product's so good.
Yeah.
Kind of joking, but kind of serious there.
What conditions would need to be satisfied in order to deploy Ricochet V2 on Gnosis chain? We just talked about that with SEM, so I'm going to move to the next one. Do you have any competition with the same capability of stream DCAing you are aware of? So yeah, so no one out there is doing stream dollar cost averaging. There are people doing dollar cost averaging, but it's custodial and it doesn't involve superfluid streams. We're the only people out here using it, doing it with superfluid streams. And we can talk about the advantages of doing it with superfluid streams, but there's a lot of documentation out there and our landing page explains it pretty well. So yeah, stream DCA, we own that. So that's us. All right. Which are the costs of running keepers to deploy Ricochet on Gnosis chain? Is this something we can do in a decentralized manner? Is it recommended? I don't know. I mean, I guess we haven't really looked into the economics of it, like keeper costs and gas costs for that would go into running the keeper account network for Ricochet markets on a Gnosis chain, but perhaps maybe a community member could look into it in a decentralized manner. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, there's nothing, the only thing stopping us from deploying is that we don't have stable contracts that scale well. So until we get a couple more things done on the Polygon chain with the contracts we have, that's really the milestone that has to get reached before we're ready to deploy to other chains. If people want to start dedicating time and energy to kind of figuring out how that works, that would be great. But just know that the contracts in their current state aren't ready to just be deployed a bunch of times. So that takes a while, and it'll probably be the case that once we run a full round of subsidies for a little while with the contracts on Polygon, that'll kind of validate that they're ready for prime time and that they can be scaled out to other networks. So that I think is the main hang up. I don't think it's it's definitely not a matter of cost because we have a bunch of Ricochet tokens.
Right.
So it's really more of a matter of stable contracts.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you plan to develop on Starkware? I do not know what Starkware is.
No.
All right. Will you put up a unified bug bounty? If no, what are the conditions, issues? I feel like that's a whole kind of process. I think the best bug bounties are the ones we set locally here.
We should look into it. I mean, I saw someone mention something about it. Someone either got paid out in a unified bounty and I heard about it. I've never heard about it before. I thought someone was talking about are we going to integrate with some other, project, but that sounds like it's a bug bounty board. Just because the, critical issues in the contract, yeah, I mean, we should do as much as we can to find them. I'm not all for copying all the Rex bounties to another system unless someone wants to integrate with our GitHub to do that. But definitely just putting, I guess, a general bounty. I don't know if that's how Unify works, but because it seems like there's a big community of people who could find bugs and are finding bugs. I just saw a tweet this week, and that's why I had this thought. But yeah, like I said, I don't know anything involved with it, but it seems like it's a place people find and fix bounties. So probably is good security practice. We just go there.
Yeah, and I know Superfluid did put some stuff up with them after their recent kind of super token exploit. So,
one thing we didn't add. I don't know how many questions there are left, but one thing we didn't add was discussing about the Superfluid hack.
Oh, right.
I don't know what would have gone on a slide there, but maybe if I had some more time, I would have thought about it. But anyway, what's the last question? Then maybe we'll answer the question what was the deal with the Superfluid hack?
This question is quite long. In some countries, to calculate tax, the profit is calculated by subtracting acquisition costs from selling price. So cost basis minus selling price.
Right.
In case of buying tokens using your protocol, what is the natural common way to calculate acquisition costs? Yeah. It's not one-time trading like Uniswap. That's why I'm curious. I also should ask this question. I'm an accountant in my country, but want to know your understanding / idea. So the first thing I'll say here is we do have a Ricochet tax analyzer. It's available in our repo, I believe, and it was created by JT Riley. That does kind of do a comprehensive analysis of your kind of profit position through use of a Rex market. The one thing here is it's not
Acquisition
exactly
cost.
like user intuitive right now. It's still just a Ricochet. It's still a repo. It's a
Well, I
bunch
think
of
when it
code
comes to
in
the
there.
acquisition cost, I'm fairly sure what you mean by that. You know, I'm not an expert in this thing, but fairly sure what you mean by that is like the cost of the trade. So like, you know, I'm fairly sure the cost of the Uniswap trade is your acquisition cost. So like in Superfluid, the costs you pay to acquire what you acquire is the fee on the first transaction where you open your stream and the fee on the last transaction when you close your stream. So the two fees you pay to acquire tokens from these contracts, there's a start flow and then a stop flow. So that's the acquisition cost. And I think that's what they're asking about.
Right. I think they're also talking about like the cost basis of like, buying
Yeah.
these tokens every 20 minutes. And yeah, one thing like basically the way I kind of do it is I just take the average over which I stream. So if I'm streaming like $100 per month into ETH, I take the average of ETH price over that month. And that's the cost basis for my dollar cost averaging with the Rex market over that month. Because that's what you're doing. You're basically getting the average in entry price over a period. So basically, with Ricochet, you're taking the average of that price over the month, and you're just basically using that for your cost basis. And then
And I think the
for
tax analyzer, but I think the tax analyzer does it a little bit more
it
like
does it like
based
more.
on input output. So it looks like how much did you stream in, and then it looks at how much did you receive out from that subscription, and then those two numbers give you the cost basis or your average acquisition price.
Yeah. So it's basically the price of what you got and minus the cost of when you put it. That's all.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think the fee is much smaller than. Anyway, that's that.
Yeah.
Did we
Cool.
want to talk about the Superfluid hack? I have a bit of time. We can talk about the Superfluid hack.
Yeah, that's the last question. If you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that we found this context related bug in our contract, and then like overnight someone exploits the context. So I don't know if someone saw that or if it's just coincidence, but I thought it was interesting and notable. The other thing is like I looked more into this, and like at the time of the hack, if someone did decide, because from my understanding of the hack, it could be any wallet that was targeted. So it was pretty much just like, well, what wallet has the most, and that wallet was targeted. And I did the math on like our wallet. I don't think an attack would have netted any more than like 100,000 in value, probably a lot less. And the reason is, and this is very important, is because we don't have a place where funds accumulate in any significant amount. The only place where there was a significant amount of tokens was in the bank, and those were RIC tokens, and in the multi-sig contract, and those were also RIC tokens. However, the problem with those two tokens is even though on paper they look like a lot, you can't sell them because the market has only like, there's like 25,000 in liquidity in all the markets. So there is no liquidity to get any of that RIC into real money. We would have had like US dollar coins and other things that were stacked up in our contract, but what we did with them is we let people borrow those funds. So they were distributed out in the community. So people were borrowing, anywhere between $100 and $10,000. So we didn't have any of the USDC. And then another thing that we did was we took a lot of our liquidity very early on and we converted it into SushiSwap LP tokens to help alleviate some of the markets. So like I said, in terms of the super tokens that were exploitable, that were in the Ricochet contracts, it wasn't even enough for them to want to script the attack to hit us. So they basically just scripted an attack to go after what I think is probably the biggest wallet on the network that had super tokens in it. And I'll be honest, this is another reason why I'm not subsidizing liquidity pooling. Most of the people that were impacted by that hack, the team was impacted, but anyone who was in the liquidity pool, those people were the most significantly impacted because the attacker was able to exploit most of the funds in terms of the Quai token or Chi token, I'm not sure how to say it. And then that was dumped on the open market for ETH. So about 6 million of the 8 million in the attack came from the liquidity providers. And the only reason there was that much liquidity was because there were liquidity incentives. So, you know, I know people keep asking sometimes about like incentivizing this thing or that thing, but you know, in general, when I'm against something, a lot of the times it's because you're creating like an unsafe situation for people. So by subsidizing liquidity pooling, we potentially could have created an unsafe situation for not only the DAO, but also for anyone who was LPing. Now, I appreciate all the LPs that are there, and I'm really glad that our pool was small. It's not always going to be that small. But in general, you know, the reason that Ricochet wasn't really even a target here is because we don't have a lot sitting around that can be exploited. So anyway, that's all I have to say on the hack.
Awesome. Any other questions, thoughts on Mike's kind of a explainer there?
Yeah, and in closing, let's just try to avoid building things that have a lot of money and can be hacked.
Yeah.
The easiest way to not get hacked is to don't build something worth hacking. Basic security. I'm not into audits. Now y'all see why. I mean, it's not like these contracts that were exploited haven't been audited. But here we are, even though the exploited contracts were basically the core of our system, we were unscathed. And it is not because we went out and paid auditors and stood in line for 3 months waiting for auditors. It's because we just didn't build a big honeypot of money using experimental smart contracts.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming.